excited to see you today from Charlotte, North Carolina. This is my third and new season of my I Love Learning podcast, The Power of Small, where little things make a big difference. And if you don't know me, I'm Dr. Gina Anderson. I'm a learning scientist and CEO and co-founder of Luma Brighter Learning. And I believe small actions can spark extraordinary change. If you're someone who believes that growth doesn't have to be overwhelming and that it just starts with one step, then this show is for you. Each episode, I explore how tiny shifts in your mindset, daily habits, or learning moments can lead to massive transformation in your work, in your relationship, and in your life. These tiny mental shifts are part of learning. It's why I created Luma Brighter Learning and its connected learning platform, which brings learning through life through 5 interaction learning modes. To learn more about my company, you can go to lumabrighterlearning.com. And don't forget to follow on YouTube, on Spotify, and Apple iTunes so you never ever miss an episode of I Love Learning. If something sparks you today and inspires you, I'd love for you to drop a comment on and share your story with us, because I want to hear how small things in the real world are making an impact in your own life. So let's dive in today, because you're going to see how something so small can make such a big change. Today's guest is Shaun Deardorff, and I met him on the TEDx stage in Raleigh, North Carolina. He is a serial entrepreneur. And when I say that, I mean it, because he has founded 9 companies and he's working on his PhD at NC State. And he's the co-founder of AirMag Media and, as you know, a TEDx speaker. But something interesting about Shaun that I want to share, and he'll probably share, is I learned through his TEDx in high school, his yearbook, somebody erased his picture. And he has made such an extraordinary impact in his life by moving forward. So I'm going to bring him on, and he's going to share with us today who he is, what inspires him. I'm so excited to have him today. Hi, Shaun. Welcome to my podcast.
Hi. Thank you, Dr. Gina, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell everyone what you're passionate about?
Yeah, so my name is Shaun Deardorff. I'm an aerospace engineer by trade, but also a creative storyteller and serial entrepreneur, including being the CEO, founder of AirMag Media Productions, which I started 6 years ago, and recently just co-founded a dog food company called Chubby's Chow, behind several other ventures as well. But I've always been fascinated by the intersection of art and science. I'm a very creative person, so seeing kind of different things and different needs, I want to try to meet those and help other people. So that what drives me is not just my creative aspirations, instinct, but that creativity is what is necessary for all people.
Yeah, absolutely. Creativity is so critical. This season is all about the power of small, and I find that little moments make a big difference. Can you share maybe one, I'm sure you have more than one, but small but mighty moment in your journey that changed everything for you?
Yeah, so I know you mentioned you can kind of hear the extent of the whole story on my TED Talk, but you mentioned about being photoshopped out of my high school yearbook. Obviously, so most people can view that as a huge negative. That's like, wow, that really sucks, and it did, and it does still. But I didn't want to let that one moment define who I was. I think the biggest thing, one of the things I've struggled with, I think a lot of people struggle with, is taking things personally. We're all very social creatures. Humans, need social interaction, and so I think it's inherent and natural to just if someone says something to you, if something happens to you, it's easy to assume that you did something wrong, or it's always your fault. And I've always been one to take things very personally. And so I was like, okay, what's wrong with me? Why did I get photoshopped out of the yearbook? But at the end of the day, it's like, you know what? I'm not going to care what other people think as much. I think I grew up caring too much what other people thought,
Mm.
and knowing that I was different than other people, I was changed my mindset to what I can't do into what I can do, and I wanted to then use that moment to kind of flip the script and write myself back onto that yearbook page on my own terms.
I love that. I'm gonna share your TEDx talk for everyone so they can hear the whole story. But the fact that you didn't let that moment define you, because most of us are living for maybe someone else's view of us, but when you can really dive deep into your true self and really what your own values are, that defines you, not somebody else's view of what you think you should be. It's who you want to be. And I can really appreciate that about your story. And last week, I don't know if you watched my podcast, Shaun, but Daniel Westmoreland was on my podcast, and he works for a trucking fleet. He was really interested to ask you this question. He said, in your quest to spark global community or empowerment for your cause, what's the major hurdle that you found, and how did you conquer it, or have you conquered it?
Yeah, so I mean, I think I try to help other people, chase their own dreams and goals too. I'm a very ambitious person. I have a lot of large aspirations. That's what kind of keeps driving me. And for me, I kind of do it because I'm trying to make my younger self proud and happy. I think there's my lifelong goal and dream is, once I finish my PhD, I'll be applying for NASA's astronaut program. And that's been a dream of mine since I was about 3 or 4 years old. So, I've always wanted to be an aerospace engineer. I have my undergrad degree for aerospace engineering, and my PhD is in aerospace as well. So I've always had that interest, but I keep doing that for my younger self to make myself proud, and not really doing that for others as much. And I think it's really important to, whatever you're passionate about, whatever your dreams are, keep being a dreamer. Have a bigger goal, keep pushing it. I forget who said the quote, but always be in the room around other people who are at a higher place than you, who maybe are farther along in life, who know more, who have more knowledge or wisdom. Because if you surround yourself with those, you're more likely to aspire to be like them, and they push you to be better. And I try to really use that in my daily life because, not that I love mentoring other people, and I mentor a lot of other students and entrepreneurs to, help grow and start their own startups. I think it's really important to give back when you can, but it's really important to keep pushing yourself to be a better version of who you are. And so, I think the biggest hurdle for me growing up was really my own self. I've always been a perfectionist at heart, and so everything I do, I try to do it at 100%, and I always try to make sure I get like an A everything I do. And over time I start realizing it's okay not to be not okay. There's never going to be a right moment to do something. If you're ever having an idea, or you're passionate about starting a new company or a new idea, or starting a new project, there's never a right moment. So just start. It just takes the initial leap of faith to do it. And I think that as an entrepreneur through and through, I started my first company when I was 10 years old, and so I've always had the entrepreneurial mindset. And what's really powerful about the entrepreneurial mindset is embracing failure. Because without failure, you don't know how to succeed. And I almost think that you can't be a successful entrepreneur if you haven't at least failed once. And because it's powerful when you embrace the idea of failure and use failure not just as a motive, but learning how to fail. But when you do fail, you fail forward. That way you can use that as motivation to keep going and learn from your mistakes and become better, so you can help yourself and help others while you're at it.
I love that. And look who's joining us. Tim is joining us today. Thank you, Tim, for showing up for Shaun and for me and for all the people you show up for. Tim is an amazing, amazing person. And I know he probably I know that he takes that to heart, in terms of finding opportunities when you're in a hurdle, or a roadblock in your life to find something better. And I think that's such a powerful statement that you say, because you can learn from those times or those hard times that you've had. In those times that you've had, Shaun, where you felt, the hurdle or the roadblock, was there something that you learned in that moment that impacted how you move through life? Or because it seems like there's such wisdom from you, that you have, and you went from being erased in your high school yearbook to being a serial entrepreneur. I mean, that's a huge change. So did you read this in a book, or how did you come up with this wisdom?
So as I said, kind of in my TED talk, I open up my story of being on the autism spectrum, and how I've always been kind of different from other people. And for those who don't understand or kind of fully know kind of what neurodivergent minds mean, or what kind of being on the spectrum means, but essentially anyone who has a neurodivergent mind, whether that's ADHD, ADD, autism, OCD, Tourette's, they process information differently. Absolutely. And so it's not a disorder, it's not disability. In my TED talk, the whole purpose of that is to preach that it's not that. We're flipping the script of that and showing what is possible, what's not, saying, what's not limits, but saying limits are just perceptions, and that kind of reframing the idea of it and just saying, it's a unique lens that people have when they see differently and think differently. Mm-hmm. And the entrepreneurial mindset is, we wouldn't have innovation in our world if we didn't have people and leaders to think differently and question the norms of what everyone else thinks. And so, I've always thought differently. I've always processed information differently. I've always been, head in the sky, kind of, mile high. And I've always wanted to, think of what if, and my lifelong mission and goal is to make the world a better place. And if I can just do that through one small act of inspiring one person to think differently, or inspire them to chase their dreams, and then I've done my job. And I know over time it's been a long journey. Obviously being on the spectrum is comes with its challenges. And one of those is relating socially to people, making friends. Mm-hmm. And so I really struggled with that throughout middle school and high school. And my own coping mechanism for that was I challenged myself, if I could tell myself, if I could learn enough hobbies and skills so that I had at least one thing in common with anyone I met, so I could skip the awkward small talk that I hated. And it's just very awkward. And if I could have something in common, whether that's, a hobby or skill or experience, then I could connect to someone on a deeper level. And so that kind of expanded, the realm of possibilities in my life. And I have lots, plethora of passions now. Skydiving and scuba diving to starting companies and chasing dreams and work in space. But I think that made me, push me to becoming a more ambitious person. But I've always had a lot of intrinsic drive and motivation. And so I think through that, learning one skill or a new, or small micro goals, I guess, helped kind of snowball into larger goals down the road. And so obviously my ultimate goal is to work in space as an astronaut, but some of those smaller goals, to get there is, obviously getting, flight hours, so becoming a pilot, and scuba diving is good. And, obviously a technical STEM background education. So hitting all those sub goals to help reach larger goals. So I think it starts small, and it ultimately ends with saying yes to opportunity. So for me, I'm a huge firm believer in, if you're given an opportunity in life, whether it's that someone's walking into the room right now saying, "Hey, I have an extra ticket to go to Paris right now, free ticket." I mean, important to seize the opportunity, seize the day, because you never know when you might not get that chance again.
I love that.
So I always also kind of my mom made that theme of carpe diem from an early age, and I always try to keep that as a cornerstone mantra.
That's beautiful. Learning is the seed of life, no matter how you process information. So, being a learning scientist, I understand neurodivergence, and it's beautiful, and you can make anything possible that you set your sights to. So I love that. I started this podcast 3 years ago because I had drivers telling me, truck drivers saying they were depressed. And they, the common theme was, well, what if you don't have a passion? What would you tell someone that's listening today that's struggling, that maybe has a neurodivergence, maybe they're on the spectrum, maybe they can't even get out of bed today? Knowing where you are today, what would you tell that person to help them move one small step forward?
I mean, I think it just starts with, looking back and like for me, I look back into like, why does this matter? I think it's really easy to get lost in the weeds. We all have really busy day-to-day lives, and I'm sure like we all have like those moments like, this sucks, and why am I here? Maybe you're in a work meeting or you're having a project, whatever, and like, this really sucks. I hate this, and you feel like it's in the world. It's terrible. But I think it's important to remember that this too shall pass. It's just a small moment. Look at the high level, and I try to take a step back a lot and like, does this really matter? In the grand scheme of things, does this matter? Like, reassess priorities, reassess goals, all that. And then for me, like, right now, like example of a time that I was close to not making it all the way was recently throughout my PhD qualifying exams that took 4 months for me. I finally passed them. It took several tries, and I significantly considered stopping and quitting because I didn't think I was cut out for it. But then I had to remind myself, that I can do this. That why am I doing this? I'm doing this to make my little self happy, to make my parents happy or proud, and to inspire others, to push myself. And same reason, I'm also, you mentioned you're doing a half marathon soon. I also enjoy large physical challenges too. I love mountaineering and hiking. I've done some crazy stuff like hiking 50 miles in 20 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, that, and then also I think the other biggest physical challenge was climbing Mount Whitney, the highest mountain in the continental United States. Both of those, I didn't think I was going to make it. And it wasn't just a physical limit, but more of a mental limit. And I think the reason why people do these more like extreme activities is to realize self-potential, realizing that you can mentally do it, and then discovering that through self-discovery. It's pretty much, it's still learning. You learn more about yourself, and you unlock like a part of your brain, I feel like, that you never use. And I remember, mile like 47, we were doing this crazy 50-mile hike in 20 hours and started hiking at 8 p.m. and stopped at 4 p.m. the next day. And I remember like, we were like at mile 47, I was And yeah, I was, my legs were about to fall off. I was in so much pain, but at that point, it's just a mental battle to like, know that you're so close to getting across the finish line, just a little bit more. And it's like at that point that your brain like goes into, hyperactive mode, and you kind of unlock a new part of mental capacity that you normally don't know you're capable of. And it's, it's really inspiring and humbling time because, I wanted to quit, but I knew that I had my friends with me. We were all doing it together. And one of them, he was a cross country runner. He was like, let's run the last 3 miles. And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. And so, yeah, we broke out and started running the last 3 miles of the 50 miles. And I was completely wiped, but, I think like activities like that, whether it's the New York City Marathon that just happened, or whether it's physical or mental, you learn more about yourself during the process, and allows you to kind of push forward, and allows you to kind of keep going on your journey. And I think that's really important to keep on doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Do hard things. We need to do hard things. So next week on my podcast, we have a special guest, Fabi Presler. She's coming on my podcast, and she founded Spark Publications. And she actually helps entrepreneurs, Shaun, and leaders publish books. What do you think we should ask her next week?
Well, that sounds like a wonderful guest to have, and a lot to be learned for sure. I think like I love asking people this too, is going to people and asking them, what is your dream? What's your dream for? Just sure you can say that, I want to be an astronaut or a doctor or all that. But overall, between what is your dream and what's an opportunity, for me, obviously that's growing up being an astronaut for me, but my high levels, what makes you want to wake up every day and be excited to live and be here. We're only on Earth for a short amount of time, and one of the mantras I have in my life too is called "Live the Dash." It's I don't know if you're familiar with it, but we all have a date in which we enter the world. And then we have a date at which we exit this world at the end of the day. In between, there's a singular dash between those two dates. And so it's what you do on this earth that defines that dash. And so I just want to make that dash, give me a second here. There we go. Want to make that dash as long and positive and inspirational as possible to help other people make a lasting positive impact. So maybe if Fabi can kind of answer what she wants to do with her dash, what makes her excited, and kind of what her dream is with that.
I love that. This is a great way to end my podcast today, because I think that you just really focused it and living your dash. I think that's a great way for people to think about it. Live every small moment, because the moments that we have every day are moments of presence that can change our life. So Shaun, You changed my life. Listening to your TEDx talk, you were an incredible human. If people want to connect with you, learn about all your entrepreneur efforts, about your new company, your old company, the 8 in between, where can they learn and connect with you?
You can check out my company's website, airrichmedia.com, for all of our latest projects, as well as on LinkedIn. I'm mostly active on LinkedIn and Instagram, Shaun Deardorff. And then obviously I follow my entrepreneur journey. We're going to be launching our my dog food, our co-founded dog food company with my co-founder Larry Spira. We're hoping to go to market in January. So if you have a dog, we'd love to get back, and so we'd be happy to get you guys on our beta sample kind of list and send out some samples for feedback. So we're working to become the world's first fully 100% sustainable dog food company.
Wow, I love that. Well, I have a dog, and she is ornery, so she needs whatever she can get. I'll tell you that. I have 2 of them, but yeah, I'm going to look that up.
I'll be with you with that. We can, if you have a dog, and if we could tell you, if you go with a dog food, we are working to develop a dog food where potentially if you use our dog food, that might add a few weeks or months to your dog's life.
Wow, I love that. Let's do it. Well, I'm going to look it up. Everyone, I'm going to post all Shaun's contact information. Thank you so much, Shaun, for joining me today. Shaun is a star, and look, you heard it. Live your dash. It's time. If you want to start, today's the day, and every small moment matters. Thank you all for joining me today. I'll see you next time. Thank you.